What is going on, college sports fans? Welcome to the stream. Today, we have a lot of news that has been going down in college football, especially today, including USC wide receiver Jordan Addison. Well, actually, new USC wide receiver Jordan Addison. He was formerly Pitt's wide receiver. He has now officially transferred to USC. Also, Jimbo and Nick Saben kind of taking shots at each other's in their interviews today, and Nick Saban started it. We'll get to all this here soon. Also, last night, the Pac-12 went away with divisions, so no more divisions in the Pac-12. The top two teams in the Pac-12 will play each other for the Pac-12 championship. We'll see how they go about, if they just go with one big conference or if they go into pods or all of that. I will allow you guys to call in today if you guys want to call in and talk some college hoops, college football. College football is really where the main news was today. Real quick, let's see. Godzilla, yo, what's up, man? Hey, Levi. What's up, Drake? And Kansas fan in here. So we got some people in here. What's going on, guys? What are pods? Pods have been rumored, and it's pretty much like a bunch of divisions. So, like, instead of having two divisions, I'll do the Pac-12, for example, since we're on topic with them. They'd have about like 4 teams per pod. So I'd say Oregon State, Oregon, Washington State, Washington, that'd probably be a pod. So those 4 teams will play each other every single year, but then the rest of their schedule kind of changes year to year with who they play in the Pac-12. So I'm pretty sure it's rumored to be like 4 teams, and in that case, there'd be 3 different pods in the Pac-12 if they keep the teams they have now. So that would be interesting. Real quick, before we get too much into it, I just want to say some stuff we got coming up on the channel. I think Saturday I'm going to come out with a NBA mock draft. The NBA lottery happened the other day, so I'm just going to do kind of a draft based on the NBA lottery. Little mock draft, and then what else do I got coming? I got another college basketball. I think I'm gonna have an updated top 10 players in the transfer portal for college basketball coming out here soon as well. So that, along with all this other stuff that we've been doing, yeah, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and post the stream link if you guys want to call in. If not, it's all good. If you guys want to ask a question in the comments, if not, then we're just gonna talk about what all went down today. It's pretty crazy how Nick Saban went out and came out and called out Jimbo Fisher for buying all of his recruits. I mean, that was pretty crazy. A little bit unprofessional by Nick Saban, right? I mean, to just come out and call him out for that whenever Nick Saban himself, he doesn't have any evidence on that. Whether it's true or not, that's kind of not what you should be looking into, right? Like, to call him out is a little bit unprofessional. I mean, if he did actually buy his players, that's a major claim, and it's not right. But I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and pin this real quick if you guys want to call in. All right, figured it out to do it off my phone. Yes, I did look into the Shaden Sharp story, and it looks like he's actually going in the draft. Like, every mock draft I've seen him in, I've seen him going in the lottery and even top 10. So it looks like he's actually entering the draft off that as well. It's pretty crazy. I mean, do I think it's right that Shaden Sharp's entering the draft? I mean, no, because he kind of lied. But then if he's given this opportunity, then I guess, he's going to take it. His ultimate goal is to make the NBA. He can get to the NBA right now. He's going to take it. If he's calling out A&M, he must feel threatened. That's kind of what I was feeling. Maybe he feels threatened because A&M had the top overall class and, had a better recruiting class, based on the stars, which, take it with a grain of salt. If Alabama's class, it could end up being better than Texas A&M's class, but based on like 24/7 sports and stuff, Texas A&M had the number 1 overall class. They had a better class than Alabama. Maybe Saben feels threatened by that, and that's why he called him out. That could be it. I just feel like it was really unprofessional for him to do that. As respected as a coach as Nick Saban is for being, the greatest college football coach of all time, for him to come out and do, call out Jimbo like that, it's just a little bit unprofessional. I'm excited for the Texas A&M Alabama game this year. We'll see how Texas A&M is this year. I feel like they're always pretty hyped up. They had the 1 year, what was that? The COVID year, the year before, was that 2019 or 2020? The year they almost made the college football playoff, and a lot of people felt like they should have because they played really well. It was the year they had Kellen Mond at quarterback. We'll see if they can get back to that, kind of get back into like a serious contender to make the college football playoff, like throughout all the way until the end of the year. Yeah, I agree with you. I can't blame Sharp, but also don't really agree with how it's done. I'm right there with you, man. Yeah, I mean, he was given that opportunity and he took it. So, yeah, I think he should have played a year of college since that's technically the rule. I mean, I feel like what they're doing is kind of, working their way around the rule, flexing it out a little bit to get to the NBA. So like technically he's allowed to do that, but like really he should probably play a year of college because that's the rule. You're supposed to play a freshman year of college. You're not supposed to be able to get drafted out of high school and then get drafted after that. But it is what it is. We'll see, because I looked into the story, but I didn't watch his high school highlights. But if he's projected to go lottery in pretty much every mock I've seen, so I'm guessing he's pretty good. I'm going to watch his highlights before I make my mock draft to see what he's about. Definitely. What other stuff we got going? Oh, yeah, the Pac-12. I'm kind of trying to think. If they go to pods, I think Oregon State, Washington State, that's a pod. Then probably the California teams are a pod, right? Cal, Stanford, USC, and UCLA. And then Arizona State, Arizona, and then Colorado with Utah. I guess that would be the pods. That's kind of weird. I don't know. Ochai over Ty Washington. I would personally, both great players, I would draft Ochai Abachi over Ty Washington. Unless my only need is a point guard, But I am super surprised, Kansas fan, because we were talking about in my comment section one day about Ochai Abachi, not even being drafted in the lottery or at the bare bottom of the lottery. Like, I was so surprised at that point whenever I was saying, like, I'd probably draft him, at least top 10, like probably 5th or 6th. And I was very surprised that when you told me all the mocks had him like at 14th, 15th, like I was so surprised. But yeah, every mock I've seen, you're right. He's going like bottom of the lottery or just out of the lottery. That's very surprising to me, especially in the tournament. How good of a shooter he is and his athleticism is there. Like, he catches baseline oops like once a game. Like, this guy has his head at the rim and he shoots consistently. Like, that one game in the tournament, was that the Final Four game? He shot like what, 7 for 7 or 6 for 6 from 3. That's just crazy. I mean, and he plays defense. I mean, you can't teach the athleticism that he has, and now he has the shooting ability already developed. It's crazy to me. You can develop passing. He's already a pretty good rebounder. I don't get it. I don't get how he's not a top 10 pick at least. They have the random guys from Europe ahead of him. See, before I make my mock draft, they'll probably be out Saturday. Let's say today's Thursday. Probably be out Saturday. I got to do some research. I got to, these guys who aren't coming out of college, that are coming out of the Euro leagues, or Shaden Sharps, who's coming out of high school. I got to do a little bit of research on them before I make my mock draft. But yeah, who do you guys think is the number one? Who do you think is going to get drafted number one? Who do you guys think is going to get drafted number one? Who do you guys think is the best overall player? Because I think the Magic might draft Chet, but I wouldn't draft Chet. I'd probably draft Jabari Smith. Jabari Smith he's the NBA type of guy. He is an NBA type of guy. And I thought Ochai Agbaji was an NBA type of guy too. Like, I'm so surprised he's not going lottery or is barely in the lottery. Like, to me, he should be at like a top 6 pick. Like, you have Chet, you have Paulo, you have Jabari Smith, you have Jaden Ivey, and it should be Ochai Agbaji right there, number 5 from me. I mean, I'm a big college football fan. You have EuroLeague guys ahead of him. Yeah, I mean, Chet Holmgren fits well at the Magic, but personally, like you said, pick Jabari. Yeah, I think the Magic probably picked Chet, but I would pick Jabari Smith, definitely. You think Chet, but you think Johnny Davis. Ooh, that's kind of interesting. Do you think Johnny Davis is going to turn out to be the best NBA player out of this draft class? Because I'm not disagreeing with you. I think it's a solid take. Me personally, I would say right now, I'd say Jabari Smith's probably going to end up being the best player out of this draft class. I also think Jaden Ivey is going to be a really good player in the NBA. I feel like Chet Holmgren, he's going to be a good player, but I don't know. For some reason, he just looks like a guy who's going to get injured. Not only that, like, I don't know. I feel like you need to have a forward. I feel like a forward, if you have the opportunity to draft a great forward or a great center, you should always draft a great forward, right? Because when's the last time a center-led team won the championship? If you have a superstar forward, you can get really good centers through free agency, really good point guards through free agency that can build around him to win championships. Like, all the recent championships have been won by like small forward led teams, right? Last year, Giannis. The year before that, LeBron, of course, Lakers, and they also have Anthony Davis, who's power forward or center. Chet, that's interesting, actually. I just thought about this while I'm over here talking. Chet Holmgren, I feel like his upside, it could be Anthony Davis, right? But he's got to put up muscle. He's got to put on a lot of muscle for that to happen. I don't think it's going to happen because Anthony Davis, he was not as skinny as Chet, but he definitely put on a lot of muscle since he got to the NBA, right? They can both shoot threes, and they both can drive, shoot, score from all facets of the game. I think his upside could be Anthony Davis, but he's going to have to put on a lot of muscle and a lot of bulk, and I don't think that he's going to do that. I just feel like he's going to be a little bit he's not going to be as good in the post in the NBA than he was in college. Yeah, it's a big difference going up against NBA players, NBA centers, at his weight, rather than going up against college kids. In the West Coast Conference, that is, too, most of the time. Like, I just don't trust Chet enough. To me, you draft the superstar forward over the superstar center. All of them. Like I said, I was going on about it and then I got off topic, but Giannis, then there was LeBron, then before that, Kawhi Leonard with the Raptors, It goes on and on. Like, you could say the last team that won the championship without like a superstar small forward was the Warriors before they had KD in 2015, and that was the year that Steph was just going crazy, man. And also the Cavs had Kyrie and Kevin Love injured in that finals. So, you know, and they have Andre Iguodala, who's a good forward. Like, he's not a superstar forward like these other guys, but he's a good forward. You have him. You draft the all-star, you draft the potential all-star forward over a potential all-star center or a potential all-star guard. So me, I would take Jabari Smith, and I would also take Paulo Banchero over Chet Holmgren as well. I wouldn't pick Chet until 3. If I mean, that's probably a sneak peek of my mock draft coming out, probably. So that's kind of a spoiler, but uh, yeah, I would. If I'm the Magic, I take Jabari Smith, and if I'm the Thunder, second on the board, I'm taking Paulo Banchero. I'm not, and then I'd take Chet at 3. Who's picking 3? The Rockets. Yeah, once those two potential superstar forwards are off the board, I'll take Chet. Yo, what's up, GL Pat? How you doing, man? Ivy is the next Ja Morant. I could see. I think Ja Morant's a little bit more athletic, but I think Jaden Ivey's probably a better shooter. At least coming out of college. So yeah, I could see it potentially. He's kind of that. I think Ja is more athletic, but Jaden Ivey is still a really athletic point guard. So he fits that build, kind of. The Ja Morants, the Derrick Rose, the John Walls, De'Aaron Fox. I think De'Aaron Fox is a really good comparison for Jaden Ivey. DeAndre Ayton is the future of Phoenix, is up in the air. DeAndre Ayton's future in Phoenix is up in the air. Yeah, it's weird because I haven't really gotten too much into the NBA this year, but I've been watching the playoffs. I watched the playoffs, but the regular season I wasn't really into the NBA that much. So what's going on with DeAndre Ayton's with DeAndre Ayton Phoenix? Is he just not performing? Because I'm gonna be honest, I haven't really been I didn't watch the NBA regular season and stuff. So yeah, if there's a superstar point guard on the board, I'd have a hard time passing him unless I have a solidified point guard on the roster. Yeah, I mean, I would take a point guard probably over a center depending on who's there. But for me, I would take a small forward over any other position. Like, if I'm picking number 1 overall and there's a really solid small forward on the board, I gotta go with him, man. Because I feel like in free agency, I'm trying to think of a recent example. You could pick up a pretty solid point guard, but I feel like if you have a superstar small forward and a pretty good point guard on your team, then you can be a championship contender, right? But if you have a superstar point guard with a decent, solid small forward, then you're not as much of a contender, I think, in the NBA. Not in college. In college hoops, in my opinion, in college, the point guard is the the most important position in college hoops, because he is your leader. If you have an experienced point guard who's a superstar player in March Madness, then I think that is the key to winning championships. But in the NBA, to me, it's small forward. Not too sure. Haven't got a chance to watch any Suns game. With me being in Ohio, if I could watch on national television with my work. Oh, I got you. Yeah, and I understand for sure because the Suns games be coming on late over here in the East Coast. Same with like any West Coast team, Lakers, Jazz, whoever. But yeah, it's it's kind of crazy because I thought DeAndre Ayton was like pretty good for you guys, but I haven't really been watching the NBA regular season and stuff. Yo, what's up, Levi? Nice profile picture, man. Cat in the tux. But yeah, I as a Wizards fan, we picked 10, right? There's two people I want. Two people. If we get one of these two guys, I will actually be happy for once coming out of the draft because I feel like the Wizards have been drafting terribly recently. I mean, other than Rui Hachimura, I feel like we've been drafting so bad. But I want Ochai Abachi. Hopefully we can pick him at 10. Like he should be there based on all the mocks. Ochai Abachi should be there at 10. Take him, or if we can't get Ochai Abachi, let's get Jalen Durham out of Memphis. Get the big man. Where do you think Big O would go in this draft? I mean, I think he was projected to go probably later in the first round, like in the 20s. I would probably pick him higher, but me picking and then the NBA picking is much different. Like to me, I don't really get it because he can't shoot threes. They're like, okay, we can't draft this guy because he can't shoot threes. Like that's what the NBA. That's why I love college basketball so much more than the NBA. Like the NBA is played such a certain way with the 3-point shooting and you have to fit a certain build. Like with college, you can, you see like super athletes and then you see like the walk on, 5'10" guy who's out there shooting crazy, and college hoops is just so much fun to watch because they actually call travels, you follow the rules, it actually seems like you're playing the game of basketball. And Oscar does that. He does such a great job. He can get 20 and 20 in a game. And I don't know. We've seen guys get drafted really early in the first round who aren't the best shooters. Like off the top of my head, I'm trying to think like Obi Toppin out of Dayton. Like he can shoot some, but like he wasn't like a crazy consistent 3-point shooter. Like Obi Toppin was an athletic freak at Dayton. And he got drafted in the lottery by the Knicks a few years back. I think Oscar should be drafted higher, but he was projected to go like in the 20s or something, right? Before he returned. Um, Denny not doing anything for you guys. I think he's really good at defense, but to be honest, I haven't even really been watching Wizards game, and they're East Coast, but I haven't really been watching. I just haven't really been watching the NBA, getting too into it this year. I've been watching the playoffs, but that's about it. Like I said, so I don't really know about Denny, but I've heard from Wizards fans that he is a very good defender, and that's about what he does. And he's a decent passer, but he also turns the ball over some, so I don't know. Um, you want my 5 to be a rebounding paint beast? Yeah. I mean, I guess a good example is Bam Adebayo, right? I think Oscar could be a Bam Adebayo type player in the NBA, right? Bam Adebayo shoots threes sometimes. Sometimes, like maybe, right? I don't really know, honestly. Will West Virginia beat Pitt? Heck yeah, man. I hope so. I actually don't know. It's going to be a good game. Based on my personal bias opinion, yes. I think so, especially because Jordan Addison left, right? That is a big hit to Pitt because I think they're going to have a pretty good defense. They got Keaton Slovis in there. I think JT Daniels for West Virginia is going to be better than Keaton Slovis. A little bit biased in there probably, but I truly believe JT Daniels is going to be better than Keaton Slovis. I think we're going to have a better offense than Pitt in general, and I think our defenses are going to match up pretty well. I think our defenses are both pretty evenly matched. So we both have pretty good defenses. I think West Virginia's offense altogether as a whole is better than Pitt's because they just lost Jordan Addison. I feel like Pitt isn't going to have that good of a year this year. I could see it happen. I think Pitt might not have a good year this year because we see this all the time in the ACC where a team will be in the conference championship, or in Pitt's case, win the conference championship in the ACC, and the next year they just kind of fall off the map. And it happens in all conferences sometimes, but it happens especially in the ACC, and I think that's what's going to happen with Pitt. I think they're going to go back down to like a 7-win season. Pitt will probably go 6-6, 7-5 this year. Especially like if they had Jordan Addison, I'd say they'll probably win 8 games. Maybe 9, but I don't think. I think losing Kenny Pickett to the draft and now Jordan Addison, that is massive, man. That is massive. So, yeah, I think Pitt's probably only going to win like 7 games max. I think WV is going to beat them. Look into Kentucky football any? Yeah, I've been looking into it some. I've seen mock drafts that had Will Levis at number 1 overall for next year. That's crazy, bro. I mean, I could understand first round, and actually, I did see some highlights of Will Levis that I did not see last year, and I was surprised. Like some of them I seen when I was watching games last year, but Will Levis is pretty nice. Actually, I think he's better than what I was giving him some credit for. But I can't see him being the number 1 overall pick in a draft class that has Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Caleb Williams, Spencer Rattler. I mean, I think he's going to have a good year this year. But the good news is I think he will get drafted no matter what. He's a good player, and he's already on the NFL scouts radar now as that potential number 1 overall pick. So I could see it being possible that he could get there now. And I'll talk more about Kentucky, not just Will Levis. I do need to look more into that. I know Chris Rodriguez and Smoke, they're both going to be a very solid running back duo. I don't need to research them because I watched them do it last season. So I know they're going to be back at it again, probably even better than last year. And I got to look into some of their receivers because they're losing Wandale Robinson Jr. and they're losing Josh Ali, right? 2 guys who are very, very good. So I know you told me they have some good wide receivers coming in. I need to look into their highlights, and I need to look into Kentucky's defense. Is Kentucky returning a lot of their defense? Because their defense was pretty good last year. I know they're losing that guy. What's his name? Eric, is it Pascal? Who's a really good edge rusher, I'm pretty sure, for Kentucky. But other than that, are you guys bringing back a lot of that defense? Because if you are, that would be very, very huge. Yo, what's up, Al Squire? What do you think about the Pac-12 dropping divisions? Honestly, personally, I think this is a good move for college football. Talking about the potential of pods, I don't know if I like pods. I'll get into that in a little bit. But as far as just dropping the divisions, I think I like it. Because now for the main example that I've seen that would make it a good thing is if you look at the Big Ten Conference. The Big Ten Conference, you always have Ohio State, usually last year it was Michigan, but the same thing happened. Ohio State out of the Big Ten East, and then probably Wisconsin. Last year was Iowa, but it's usually Wisconsin or someone, Minnesota, whoever comes out of the West, right? Ohio State will always beat Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota, Purdue, whoever, by 50 points in the Big Ten championship game. But now, instead of Michigan beat Iowa by a bunch of points last year in the Big Ten championship game, but now Ohio State versus Michigan, we would have got a rematch in the Big Ten championship, and it would have made things a lot more interesting. A lot more interesting. See, with the SEC, though, it kind of doesn't even change much as far as the championship game. I mean, I'm sure it changes a lot, but it doesn't change much as far as the championship game because last season, and honestly, as far as I can remember, there might be an outlier in there somewhere, but as far as I can remember, usually the top two teams in the SEC, there's one from the East, one from the West. And last year it was Georgia, Alabama, so it would have kept the same championship game from last season. So I don't know. In the Pac-12 specifically, I think it hurts Oregon because Oregon, they probably had the Pac-12 North on lockdown this year, so they would have had a chance to win the Pac-12. But now I think Utah and USC, who are both in the Pac-12 South, are probably going to be the two best teams in the conference, and they'll probably have a rematch this year in the Pac-12 championship instead of Oregon getting in. So I think it affects it that way, but I think I kind of like it. If all conferences moving to top divisions if all conferences moving to drop divisions, an expanded playoff would make much more sense. Yes, I agree. I think that's where they're heading. I'm pretty sure I've seen they're not going to expand the playoffs yet, but they're planning to do so in 2023 or 2024. So I think that's the direction we're heading. It might probably before this season, I think all conferences are dropping divisions, and I think maybe next year, the pace things are moving. They are moving very fast. Like I've seen your comment, college football is moving at a very fast and furious pace. And I think maybe next year they'll expand the playoffs. Like this year, they'll take out the divisions. They're doing it pretty fast. And then next year, they said 2023 or 2024. Next year will be 2023. They'll probably expand the playoff next offseason, if I were to guess. I think that's what's going to happen. Chris Rodriguez did get arrested for a DUI on the 8th. Pretty sure he's going to be good to go unless NCAA, SEC, or the school hand a suspension. So, okay, yeah, he'll probably play. I mean, even if he gets a suspension, it'll probably just be for a couple games. But they probably won't, right? You don't see the SEC dropping the championship game. No, I don't think that they're dropping the championship games. I just think that they're going to drop. I think the SEC will drop the divisions. Will this happen with every conference, no division? It's expected to. The news articles that came out, pretty much every news article that I've read and anything I looked into said the Pac-12 dropped divisions. Other Power 5 conferences are expected to follow soon. I expect it all to be done by very, very soon. I think all conferences will drop divisions very soon and definitely before the season starts. The Big 12, they don't have any divisions anyway because there's only 10 teams. So the two best teams already play in the championship game. The thing is that I was talking about earlier, the pods. The dropping divisions, I think, is a good thing. As far as the pods, I'm not sure. And the main conference I'm not sure about is the SEC. Because how would that work? If you only play if you only are in a pod with 4 teams, there's so many cross rivalries and old rivalries and in-state rivalries in the SEC that it's hard to put just 4 teams that play each other every single year, right? like the main one I think about is, okay, you have Alabama. Okay, just take this in a pod. Who's going to be in a pod with Alabama? Because not only do you have to figure out this intertwined rivalries across the conferences, but you also got to think a little bit about location. Maybe they don't care about location, and also about the parity, the competitive parity in each um pod, right? Like who's going to get to play Vanderbilt every year? Who gets to do that, right? Because to me that's like a big advantage in the FEC, as far as record. If you're the two best records are playing at the end, you're probably going to want to be in a pod with Vandy. Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, maybe I could see that. And then you got to take into to consider Georgia in that. That's where I get from, because that would make sense because you have two in-state rivalries there. Well, is Tennessee Vandy really rivalry? You know, but it also allows some competitive balance. Yeah, you guys get to play Vanderbilt every year, but you also have to play Alabama. So, and Auburn and Tennessee are both historically very good and are good sometimes, sometimes very good, depending on the year. So I could see that being a pod, but then the Georgia factor in that kind of gets me, because Georgia versus Auburn, they say is the deepest, the oldest rivalry of the South. So Georgia, Alabama not playing each other every year, and then Georgia, Tennessee is kind of a rivalry a little bit. So Georgia, Tennessee won't be playing each other every year if that's a pod. So that is interesting as well. Maybe they make it to where these rivalries play each other at least every 2 years, 3 years. But yeah, it's definitely interesting. What's up, Levi? I see you, man. Um, I'd love to see Kentucky and Louisville in the same conference. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Um, I honestly, I would love to see like just a complete recon like changing all the conferences around. Like you can do a little bit on based on location, but that'll never happen. I mean, unless the super conferences happen, then they'll just be a lot bigger probably though. Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, Kentucky. Yeah, I could see that being a pod, and then you would have, but then you have to add in the factor of Oklahoma, Texas. Yep, Texas A&M, LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and then you have Oklahoma, Texas, Missouri, and Arkansas. That would work, right? Missouri, Arkansas, Texas, Oklahoma. Yeah, that works like geographically. But then do you want like the old you could then like the old Big 12 rivalries kind of go into factor, right? Because do you want to have Texas and Texas A&M in the same pod? You have read that Texas A&M refused to be in a pod with Texas. Honestly, that's kind of surprising because Texas and the SEC would probably be one of the easier wins. You have Vandy, which is obviously the easiest, but who's the next easiest to have in your pod? Is it South Carolina? Is it Missouri? It might be Texas. But yeah, if Texas refused to be in, if Texas A&M refused to be in a pod with Texas, I think all those three ones that you said, yeah, all of them that you said, yeah, Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, yeah. I think that would probably be the pods. It makes sense. It definitely makes sense. And that way there are no in-state rivalries that won't happen either. So yeah, that's interesting. I mean, Arkansas, Alabama won't get to play each other, but um, it's not really like a huge rivalry, I feel like, in most people's eyes. I also feel like everyone in the SEC for football kind of wants to have a rivalry with Alabama. and it's just not. I think Arkansas is a kind of an example of that. Like Alabama, Arkansas is probably a rivalry to Arkansas, but it's not a rivalry to Alabama. How will no divisions work? Will one team have to play all the others in the conference? I think it's going to work like these pods. That is the rumor, where you have a pod of 4 teams, you play the 3 other teams every year, and then you rotate playing the other teams year by year. I think that's how it's going to work. I can see how pods would work in an expanded playoff. This would give many more big name teams. This would get many more big name teams into the playoff. Yeah, I agree. Because if you think about it, if we've already seen 2 SEC teams make it to the college football playoff multiple times. Both times it's been Alabama and Georgia. And this will allow Michigan and Ohio State to both be in the Big Ten championship for a rematch. So, if, say, Michigan beats Ohio State in the regular season, then Ohio State beats Michigan in the Big Ten championship. In an expanded playoff, Ohio State and Michigan can both make the playoff. That allows for both those big name schools to make the playoffs. So, yeah, I agree. I see where you're coming from. Pod 1. Kentucky, Missouri, Tennessee, Vandy. I could see that. Bama, LSU, Auburn, Mississippi State. Okay. Texas A&M, Arkansas, Ole Miss. Pod 4. Florida, Georgia, South Carolina. When Oklahoma and Texas join, put them in pods 3 and 4. Okay, I could see that happening. The only one is I would probably keep Mississippi State and Ole Miss together. You got to have that Egg Bowl in there. Other than that, yeah, I think pretty reasonable. But would you want Oklahoma and Texas to be in the same pod because the Red River shootout? I'd probably put them in the same pod as well. I feel like they kind of go with that. They're not in state, but is a really big rivalry. I feel like they're going to want to have that rivalry played every single year. Yeah, Al Squire did say that Texas A&M didn't want to be in a pod with Texas. I wonder why. But I think the pods are going to happen. It should be interesting. I'm trying to think of how the pods would work in the new Big 12. It would probably be, I'm thinking about my team, West Virginia, Cincinnati, probably Central UCF, Central Florida, because that's the only other team on the East Coast. And then Iowa State. That's probably what it would be. And then probably Kansas State, Oklahoma State. Yeah. That'd be pretty interesting. And BYU. And then you got some Texas teams. That's probably how it would work, actually. It's kind of weird because the Big 12 is all over the place, so you can kind of go geographically, but it's kind of weird. Move Mississippi State and put Oklahoma and Texas on 4 then? Yeah, I think that would work. A&M made the move in 92 to get into the SEC and had to take a load of crap from Texas. Moving away from Texas was a big reason A&M jumped to the SEC. I got you. They got a lot of history. And, Texas gave them a lot of crap, and now they're heading there right behind them. It's crazy to me because the old Big 12, think about it, they had Nebraska, Colorado, Missouri, and Texas A&M. It was only like that for like a couple of years whenever I was watching college football. Like when I first started watching college football, that's what the Big 12 was like. And then like my second, third year of watching college football, like watching it like seriously because I was young, they left. Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, South Carolina, SEC North pod. That's kind of an easy pod, honestly. I feel like you got to kind of get the competitive parity in there a little bit better. Having Vanderbilt and South Carolina, I don't know, Shane Beamer's doing a pretty good job at South Carolina. And Mark Stoops is doing a good job with Kentucky, but historically they're not going to be like super competitive. And, Tennessee historically are really good, and they're probably going to be good this year. But, the past 10 years, Tennessee haven't been that great either. Drake likes it because he's a Kentucky fan. That would be a very easy pod. Yeah. If I'm A&M, I'd want Texas every year. Yeah, I mean, as far as having to face them, yeah, I would. But I think that Texas will be good eventually, but who knows when that will be. I think they have potential to be good this year. I don't know if they will, though. Probably not. But it's just a history thing. They just don't like their program. They just don't like what they said. They have a lot of history, and they took a lot of crap from them. But the thought of Texas A&M versus Texas and the SEC has everyone jumping. Did you hear Texas has announced they are walking away from the Longhorn Network? I did not see that. That's interesting. Getting some new TV deals with the SEC, I guess. Yeah, I'm excited to see Texas A&M versus Texas. I'm excited to see Texas versus, or it's Alabama at Texas this year. Did you hear it's going to be a noon kickoff? I thought that they'd have that as a night game. But yeah, I think Alabama's going to give them a good welcome to the SEC. Arkansas did last year. Arkansas beat the crap out of Texas last year. But yeah, Alabama's going to give them a really good welcome to the SEC. I don't think Texas is going to do good in the SEC at all the first few years. And then they're probably going to be preseason ranked top 10 every year. Just go 7-5 best. Yeah, you like Geopat's idea, yeah. Yeah, I think the competitive parity there isn't geographically it makes sense for that pod, but yeah, competitively that pod would be a very easy one, kind of a cakewalk pod. For I mean, it wouldn't be like completely easy, like if you look at all of college football, but as far as the SEC, where it's the best conference, that would be a cakewalk pod. You wanted Texas this year. Yeah. There's a lot of good non-conference games this year. I'm pretty excited. We have the Alabama-Texas game. We have Ohio State Notre Dame. That will be pretty fun. Even though it could be Ohio State might blow them out a little bit, but it could be fun. We'll see what Notre Dame's coming out there with. They got their new head coach that they promoted. Then you got Oregon, Georgia. I feel like Georgia's going to blow them out. Of course, you got WVU Pitt, and it's not as big of names as the other ones, but it's a long, cold-blooded rivalry that hasn't been played in a long time. Like 20 years almost. So, well, not 20, like 15, but still long time. So, what other non-conference games are there this year? Penn State play again. This time it's in Auburn. I don't expect Auburn to be very good this year, though. I don't think Auburn's going to be very good. Yes, Georgia, Oregon. Marshall plays Notre Dame this year? I didn't know that. Is it in Marshall? If it's in Marshall, I might go watch that. Because Marshall's like a 2-hour drive. I could go down and see it. If it's probably in South Bend, I'd assume. Texas A&M, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, and LSU. It makes sense geographically, and I would agree with you. I would have agreed with you before Al Squire told me that Texas A&M doesn't want to be in a pod with Texas. Like, I think that pod makes the most sense geographically for everyone, but since they don't want to be in the same pod, then it makes more sense to go like Texas A&M, LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and then go Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas. I think that is probably what's going to happen if I were to guess. The stream has been fun, guys. We got 6 viewers in here right now. Make sure you guys drop a like for me. We're probably going to be doing this every single Thursday night. So you guys dropping that like button makes me lets me know that you guys enjoy these. You guys want to see these every week. So it's in South Bend. All right, I gotcha. That stinks. I want to go to South Bend for a game sometime. That's on one of my bucket lists. I want to go to all the great environments in college football. So badly. I think the pod setup I have is a good competitively and geographically. Yeah, I would agree. I like after you switch those ones to have Ole Miss and Mississippi State in the same one and stuff. I thought that they were pretty good. I thought they were pretty good. I saw today is actually 100 days until college football kicks off. 100 days. It'll go by fast. I think it'll go by fast. I'm excited. I've never been more excited for a season to start. College football and college basketball. Like, I cannot wait. I think it's also because this is like the first off season I've very seriously been making like content on college sports. So I'm just really excited for the seasons to be back and to be making content during the season. Super excited. My buddy and I are wanting a Kentucky-Ohio State 1-1 series. He's a huge Ohio State fan. He's a huge Ohio State fan, and as you know, I'm a huge Kentucky fan. We'd be going to both games. That would be awesome, man. Yeah, Ohio State would be tough, but that'd be a lot of fun. WVU is next year in 2024. So 2023 and 2024, we have a 1-1 series with Penn State. That could be fun. So I'm probably going to I might go to Penn State to watch WVU versus Penn State. whenever we play the road game in that series, because I think the Penn State environment is worth checking out. So I think that would be fun. What do you think of the death of the big game opening at a neutral site game? Is it? Wait, what do you think of the death of the big game opening at a neutral site game? So wait, which game is that? Are talking about what they call the game Michigan and Ohio State, or is the death of the big game a different rivalry? Which one is it? Because I want to make sure. Do you know how I can look and see what 1-1s Kentucky has coming up if they have any? Maybe if you search up, I might be able to search it up real quick. Kentucky non-conference schedules. Yes, I found it. So 2022 non-con, Miami, Youngstown State, or it's Miami of Ohio, Youngstown State, Northern Illinois, Louisville. 2023, Ball State, Eastern Kentucky, Akron, and Louisville. 2024, Akron, Ohio, Murray State, Louisville. And 2025, Toledo, Eastern Michigan, Louisville. So I see all group of 5 teams except for Louisville every year, which of course is the rivalry. Yeah, I actually don't see any like 1-1s with a Power 5 school for Kentucky. So that's kind of crazy. I read that teams are now wanting a 1-1 instead of like the season opening games like last year, Bama versus Miami. Yeah, that makes sense. I think a 1-1. Oh, is that what you mean by death of the big game opening at a neutral site? Okay. I like it. I would rather see 1-1 series played at the college campuses than see a neutral sited game just one time. Like, to me, you should play them in the college atmosphere. Like, play them on campus, man. Yeah, I would much rather see 1-1 series instead of a neutral sited game, a big game. Like, I would rather see a game in Miami, even though they'll probably have 3 people show up, and a game in Alabama than just a neutral sited Chick-fil-A kickoff or whatever they call it. Miami, Florida State, Georgia Tech, Clemson, South Pod. Yeah, that makes sense in the ACC. I could see that. Miami, Florida State got to be in the same pod, and then Clemson, Georgia Tech. Yeah, that makes sense. And then Georgia Tech. Historically they have a good history, but Georgia Tech, kind of been terrible lately. So yeah, that makes sense. You have Georgia Tech in there for some competitive parity. I mean, even Florida State recently has been bad, but you got to think that Florida State's probably going to be good again here soon. So the non-con games are pretty lackluster. Come on, give us WVU. Yeah, I mean, that'd be fun to play Kentucky. Little Hatfield and McCoy rivalry. That could be a new rivalry, bro. That could be a new rivalry. The Hatfield and McCoy rivalry between WVU and Kentucky. That'd be pretty cool. But yeah, WVU plays Penn State in a 1-1 series. Not this year, but the next 2 years. So that should be fun. I want to go to Penn State and experience that atmosphere. That's one of the places that I definitely want to go. And since WV is going there, kind of a good opportunity to go. I mean, I doubt they'll have a whiteout for WVU. They'll probably save that for Michigan or Ohio State, whoever's good that year, right? They maybe they'll have 2 whiteouts in a year. Why not? They probably wouldn't have one for WVU. It'd probably be a noon kickoff game. Same, man. I really want to see a whiteout game live. That'd be very fun. But yeah, experience in Penn State would probably be like a noon kickoff. Like I don't think they'll have a whiteout for WVU, but either way, it would be fun to go to. I mean, it'd still be probably a good atmosphere. I mean, I know their crowd is pretty crazy. It's a good place to go to as far as atmosphere. But I would have to go again for a whiteout game sometime, like when they play a big time opponent, like Ohio State or someone. That is also a must. So I'll probably have to go back for a whiteout game. I'm trying to think of other atmospheres that I definitely have to go to at some point. I mean, I probably would want to go to Baton Rouge at some point, right? I mean, in LSU, they have an amazing atmosphere. I'd like to go to South Bend. I could go to Columbus, witness a Ohio State game, but I'd have to go when they're facing somebody good because unless you're an Ohio State fan, like you don't want to go and watch them beat up on Rutgers, right? Like that would be boring. Just check the score of that one and go to a different game or watch the other games. That would be very boring. So if I were to go to Columbus, they'd have to be playing someone really good. Because I couldn't just watch. It would be competitive for 30 seconds, then they'd already be up 14-0. They're facing Rutgers or Maryland or whoever from the Big 12 or the Big 10 West. Top 5 stadiums I'm wanting to go to a game to is not including Kentucky. Ohio State, LSU, Oklahoma, Nebraska. Yeah, I didn't think of Nebraska. That would be a fun one to go to. They got some good fans out there. I'm hoping Nebraska's, actually has a pretty good season. I hope Nebraska beats Oklahoma this year. That's another one. They're having a 1-1 series, Nebraska versus Oklahoma, right? And Nebraska should be at home this year because they played in Norman last year. So Nebraska gets Oklahoma at home this year, if I'm not mistaken. I hope Nebraska beats Oklahoma. That would be awesome. That would be so awesome. I hope Nebraska makes a bowl game this year too, because when they are good, their fans they show up for sure, and they even show up when they're losing. They got some good fans, Nebraska. Yeah, LSU. I definitely want to go to Penn State. Where else? Low key, this one might be kind of out of left field of where I'd like to go. And I could go this year because WVU plays them on the road this year. But I'm not. But I definitely would like to go sometime because I'm sure WVU will be back there again because it is a rivalry game. Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's atmosphere there at Blacksburg for football is actually pretty electric. It is. And I'd like to go to a VTech West Virginia game in Blacksburg. I've been to West Virginia Tech games in Morgantown. Fun. Very fun. The crowd shows up for those ones. I'm definitely going to. I mean, I've been to a bunch of WVU games. It is a really good atmosphere, but I want to witness some other ones. But yeah, Virginia Tech is kind of one out of left field, but I definitely want to go to a Virginia Tech WVU rivalry game in Blacksburg. It'd be pretty fun. Definitely. you'd love to go to a Bengals Saints game, but this year, but it's in New Orleans. But it's looking like I'll be going to Nashville for the game against Titans. That will still be a very good game. Titans fans, they've been they've been a good atmosphere lately there in Tennessee because the Titans have been good the past few years. I think that would be a very fun game to go to there, AFC battles. Yeah, I don't think I'll make it to a Giants game this year, which is fine because we're not going to be good. But eventually, yeah, I definitely want to go to a Giants game. If they're ever facing Cleveland or Pittsburgh on the road, I'll be there. That's what I'm thinking because those are the two closest to me. But I could also go to, on any given year, I could go to DC and watch a Commanders Giants game because DC is only like 4 hours away. So any given year, I could go to DC and watch a Commanders Giants game. But I'm probably not going to go to a game this year. Giants just aren't going to be good, and it would have to be in DC because we don't play anyone else close to me. I only wanted to go to the Saints game because it's Joe and Jamar's return. Oh, that's right, man. That's right. Yeah, that would be fun. That'd be fun. I did see that Jarvis Landry got signed by the Saints, and he went to LSU, so that's kind of his return. Cincy close to me? It's not far. I'll have to look it up. I don't know how far it is. I've never been to Cincy. I've been to DC. I've been to Pittsburgh millions of times. I've never been to Cincinnati, so I'm about to see how far it is. It's actually, yeah, it's not too far. 4.5 hours. It's similar about uh the same amount of time that it would take to get for me to get to DC. Actually, no, DC is only 3 hours away, so it's a little bit further. Cincinnati 4.5 hours away, which isn't too bad. Oh yeah, Baltimore is actually close to me too. Baltimore, I didn't think of that. Any AFC North teams, if the next time the Giants played in an AFC North team on the road, I could probably go to it. The furthest one away is probably Cincinnati, though. Baltimore and DC are pretty close to each other. I've been to Baltimore before. It's probably about 3 hours away as well. Pittsburgh's only like an hour away. And then Cleveland's like 2.5, and since he's like 4.5, about the same distance to Nashville from me. Gotcha. So that's not too bad. Not too bad. Oh yeah, I missed it. Florida State, LSU, ISU, Texas, overhyped pod. Wait, who do you have in that? Florida State, LSU, Iowa State, and Texas? I'm confused a little bit. But Notre Dame versus Ohio State, week 1, who wins? Short answer, Ohio State. But we will see. I think Ohio State is probably going to win that one. Their team is just so stacked, man. Notre Dame, I think they could put up a fight, but I'm hoping it actually won't be a blowout because I could see Ohio State potentially beating them by more than maybe up there by 20 points. I think Ohio State's got it. I really do. Well, yeah, we've been streaming for about an hour, 10 minutes or so. Probably hop off the stream in about 5-ish minutes to just talk a little bit longer. It's been a fun stream. We've had consistent viewers. Thank you all for coming and hanging out. It's been a lot of fun, honestly. There's a lot to talk about today, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yes, Iowa State, Florida State, LSU, Texas. Why would they be in a pod together? Are you just getting rid of conferences completely? And those are also kind of random because they're not very close to each other geographically. So just go away with all conferences. Let's draw new pods out of a bowl. Let's just draw them. No, that would be cool. That would be a cool idea, though. Dream 1-1 for Kentucky, in your opinion. WVU. Let's make the Hatfield and McCoy rivalry a thing. And let's play let's schedule a 1-1. Let's make it fierce. Let's make it very competitive. And then they'll have to schedule again. And then eventually becomes a big time rivalry. But no, realistically, that would actually be a very cool idea because Kentucky and West Virginia do touch like some of the state. So it is kind of like borders. We're kind of border states. That would be a fun rivalry, and it would make sense. Like the rivalry name makes sense because the history of Hatfield McCoy could have a cool trophy for it. If it actually becomes a rivalry, so that would be cool. But for a one-on-one with Kentucky, I'm trying to think of a team that's kind of geographically close. That would also be pretty competitive. So you mentioned Ohio State. I think Ohio State would probably win those. I mean, I think Kentucky could hang in there at least with these teams that they have now. So that could be one to take into consideration. Maybe even Virginia Tech. That could be pretty cool. But Virginia Tech isn't very good this year. I don't think they'll be. Who else, man? Who else? Trying to think. Wouldn't mind Cincinnati or Iowa. Yeah, those would be good ones. You just played Iowa in the Citrus Bowl and we'll beat them. That was a pretty entertaining game. So I could see that. Cincinnati would be fun. I think Cincinnati geographically makes a lot of sense for a one-on-one. I think, yeah, I like that idea. That would probably be my favorite one that we've come up with is Cincinnati versus Kentucky, 1-1. Or scheduled for a 1-1 game. Who else? Who is? Man, I can't even think. Maybe like a Wake Forest? I don't know. They're pretty good this year. But that's if we're just talking this year. Maybe like a Wake Forest. You know, they're not too far there in North Carolina. Clemson. Yeah, Virginia Tech. I agree. I don't think Virginia Tech's going to be that good this year, man. I know you said you were a UVA fan. Maybe UVA versus Kentucky in a 1-1. Brennan Armstrong, man, the Red Rocket, play one there in Charlottesville. Charlottesville has a nice campus. Virginia is a very nice campus. UVA is a nice campus. I will say that. Yeah, Clemson. Who else? You mentioned Iowa. Maybe like a Big Ten team that's not Ohio State, like Notre Dame. Well, they're not Big Ten, but they're like Indiana. They're in Indiana. You mentioned Iowa. Yeah. Purdue. Maybe a Michigan team. Maybe Michigan State. How about Michigan State? They don't have, like, that's not very geographically close. It's not too far, but it would be a fun game. I think Michigan State would be fun versus Kentucky. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and hop off the stream, guys. I appreciate you all showing up and hanging out with me. It's been a lot of fun. We'll be back at it next Thursday, as we are all off season long. We'll probably continue at this on Thursday nights here throughout the whole regular season, through football season, basketball season, all of that. So it should be a lot of fun. Thank you guys once again for hanging out with me during the live. If you guys are watching this as a video later on, I appreciate you guys watching it as well. Make sure you guys hit that like so I know you guys want to see this every single week. And if you guys are watching it as a video and you want to see it live next week, come in next week, next Thursday, around the same time at 10 o'clock, and we'll be at it again. So, yeah, guys, thanks again coming and hanging out. I appreciate you all, man. I have so much fun making videos and stuff, so I really do appreciate it. So, yeah, it's been your boy Danny, guys. I'm out.